Welcome everyone to Breaking the Kernel. We have a lot to talk about. The last 72 hours as I'm recording this video has been crazy, and there's so much in the news. So let's jump right into it, including two breaking news as I'm recording this. The first one is the TikTok ban has been upheld so far. January 19th is the deadline, 2025. It's coming very quickly. We're already in December. And here's my prediction on this. I don't think they're going to sell. I think what's going to happen is that it's going to be a grudge match for a while. And we'll see, because Trump's coming in. So we'll see what his relations with China is really like. Let's see what they're really hitting for. Because otherwise it's going to get banned in America. I'm very confident they're not going to sell. I think it's going to get banned. And I think YouTube and many other, well, really just YouTube is going to be flooded with a bunch of TikTok. I mean flooded with a whole new user base, which have, if they're smart, have already been slowly trying to migrate onto YouTube over the last couple of years. But if not, and they still care about it, they're going to flood onto YouTube. They're going to flood onto Instagram. They're now already, and it's going to be basically what happened with Vine all over again. Some will make it, some will not. Second story to come out is senators have asked the FTC to look into DraftKings and FanDuel and how they are promoting gambling. Listen, the thing about this, do I sports gamble? Yes, I'm a grown-ass man. I'm a sports gamble. I got parlays to hit, all right? But with that being said, I personally think that, as I've said it before on the podcast, I think advertisements and marketing has become, like, outrageous, and I think it's become a little dangerous, especially who they're targeting. And I think, especially with sports betting, ethically is starting, the lines are starting to get blurred, and I think there needs to be a reorganization, and they definitely need to be investigated and looked into with some of these things. Every single, like, ESPN, Fox, like, just every single place seems like it has some kind of relations to sports betting. And obviously there's so much money into it. Why would they not want to take the bag? I mean, there's whole shows that are run by FanDuel and by DraftKings. I mean, it's crazy. And to the point now where you have all these situations where players are betting, you have all these personalities online and on TV have their own, like, betting parlays and stuff like it's so weird. And it's getting to the point now where it's like, I'm not against sports betting. People have addictions and they're going to bet whether it's legalized or not. So I'd rather a legal, better way to monitor this than not. But I do believe how they're marketing it and the ethics is starting to get a little fuzzy, and they need to read into that. So we'll see what comes of that. I really don't know, because sports betting has a lot of money behind it and influence. So we'll see. Next, we're going to go to the biggest story that I'm sure a lot of people really are digging into, especially when it happened out of nowhere on a Wednesday morning, is the assassination of the CEO, of one of the CEOs, one of the executives, top executives for United Healthcare. All right. His name was Brian Thompson, was the CEO in question that got assassinated, right, on Wednesday morning as he walked to the company's annual investor conference in New York City. So he was assassinated in New York City. Here's the thing. Online, when it happened, it's still right now, it is not pretty. If you are the family or friend of this individual, do not go online. It is not for you, just for your own sake. People are clowning this man. People are cheering the assassin. People are, it's online's the wild, wild west right now. And here's the thing about that, right? Because I've had discussions about this. I've thought about it over the last couple of days, and I really want to give I try to give a nuanced take on this. I said it before, like when it comes to Donald Trump and some of these other people, Queen Elizabeth, some of these other people, right? When you lead your life and you do people dirty or wrong, especially by the masses, especially if you have your hands on the pulse of society of whether people live or die, you can make those type of life-altering decisions, you're going to create a lot of enemies. You're going to do a lot of people wrong, especially when it comes to health insurance in America. Insurance in general, really, but specifically, especially in this situation, health insurance. a lot of people have been destroyed. A lot of families, a lot of lives are gone and have been killed because of health insurance. Not just United Healthcare, but health insurance in America in general. And people have always had big problems with big pharma. Like it's a whole thing. If you're not American and you're listening to this or watching this, it's a very weird thing. Health insurance in America. So I'm not surprised that people are what people's reaction online has been. I'm not surprised. I don't like to make fun of people's deaths regardless of if they were pieces of shit or not. But but people are like saying that people shouldn't be making these jokes. And here's the thing. I'm not making the jokes, nor do I think they're per se even funny. But again, I'm not surprised because of how insurance companies have constantly fucked over and in essence killed so many people. So I'm really just saying I'm not surprised by the reaction. I'm not surprised by this reaction. Anyone who knows anything about the American health insurance situation in America, I'm not surprised by the reaction. Now, here's the thing. Suspect is still at large, right? The NYPD has potentially shown the wrong person as a person of interest in this situation. Which, here's another thing. Someone's about to get rich. Someone is about to sue the living hell out of the NYPD. They're going to own the NYPD, or at least the stake of the NYPD by the time this is up. The NYPD's budget is so large, and this person's about to claim at least like 90% of that, because that's crazy. NYPD has shown despite their huge budget, has shown a lot of incompetence. Like, they've been incompetent. They've been very incompetent many times throughout history. This is nothing new. I'm hoping the NYPD can get their shit together and start stringing along actual evidence and like make headway in this case, because there's been a lot of misinformation on the NYPD's part that could put a lot of people, especially they can put a lot of people in danger because of the misinformation the NYPD has shared. And they've done this with many cases, not just this particular case, but they've done it time and time again. And it leads to racial profiling, leads to all kinds of nonsense. And NYPD better get their shit straight, because this is a domino effect right now, right? Because the suspect rode off on a bike is not... If you haven't seen the video, I wouldn't recommend it, but there is a video out there of the assassination. I'm not going to obviously play it, but there's a video out there. This dude waited for him, basically, crept up on him, shot him a couple of times, and then fled on a bike, which is insane. It's insane. Now, I think it's come out that it wasn't a city bike. I know people reported that was a city bike. It wasn't actually a city bike. But that's crazy. I don't know. There's something so... It's something so Gotham City-esque. This whole case just seems like something out of a Batman comic run, right? It just seems so crazy. I can't imagine riding on a bike after assassination is crazy. Mr. Thompson, right, was one of the highest paid executives with a 10.2 million annual compensation package. So that means his base salary was probably like $1 million or something like that. Then he had like stocks, options, probably stuff like that to help accumulate that $10.2 million annual package, right? And what's also interesting about this that I didn't know until really researching and looking into this is that he was pretty low profile from what people are saying. He was pretty low profiled compared to Andrew Whitty, right? Who was the more public facing of United Healthcare, and also was the one that testified before Congress, right? So I was surprised because I was like, okay, I thought they would go after Andrew instead of Brian, but it looks like also I think that Brian is in charge of insurance coverages, if I'm not mistaken, right? So they also, Thompson's wife, right, also came out and stated that he had been receiving threats that may have to do with issues when it comes to insurance coverages. Now, I guess from the NYPD's point of view, they said they have not been able to confirm said threats that have come his way, but the wife has said he's gotten threats, and that she, while she doesn't personally know the details of said threats, she's saying it may have something to do with insurance coverages, which is what Brian Thompson oversaw. So that is also something to note, because a lot of theories are going on, because it was, again, Brian Thompson was on his way to the investors meeting, right? And they're saying that this may have something to do with, like, the investors maybe arranged assassination, or this happened. Like, there's so many theories and all this conspiracy stuff going on. But at the end of the day, I really thought when this first happened, I really thought this had just someone who was done dirty, someone who was done very dirty. Their insurance company just happened to be United Healthcare, and they're able to catch him slacking. That's how I see. That's how I saw when it first happened. And as every report that comes out about this, to me, it just seems more and more like someone who got really screwed over by United Healthcare and decided to take it out on him. That's just what happened. I again, until they catch him and until they question him, interrogate him, and figure out what's going on with him, why he do it, is really just all theories at this point, right? But to me, that's what I figured, because it was only a matter of time, not for this situation, but it was only a matter of time before people got very pissed off with how the American health system is played out for a lot of people. And I'm just not surprised that people are pissed. I do not wish this on anybody, let me make that clear, but I'm just saying I'm not surprised that people are fed up. I wish we went a different way about this, of course, but the thing about health insurance in America is, like, a lot of the time you don't get to choose who your health provider, like, you don't get to choose these things. Like, sometimes you get a job, the job has a situation with or agreement with a health insurance company, and that's who your health insurance is. And some jobs, like, I know I work for a small business, I got to go and choose my health insurance company, now with some stipulations, so I didn't really get the best one, but I got to kind of choose and shop around. Some people just get stuck with a certain health insurance, depending on where you're working, right? So that's the situation with this. I feel like this guy has United Healthcare. United Healthcare is not known for the best practices, especially when it comes to the use of AI and some other stuff, right? And so this is someone who was disgruntled, and I feel like that's what this is. And here's the thing: there's also been something that's very interesting that happened with this, is that the leadership pages from a lot of health insurance companies, including United Healthcare, has taken down their leadership page. They've taken down they'll have a About Us page with pictures of, like, all the people in the top positions, like the executives and chief of marketing or whatever. Like, they'll have all these people. They've taken down those pages. Obviously, people, for safety concerns and reasoning and safety protocols, I'm sure they've taken down, not just, like I said, not just United Healthcare. There's many insurance providers who have taken down their leadership pages in fear, I'm sure, of another assassination attempt happening, especially since this happened Wednesday morning I believe around 6:45 to 7 a.m. I'm thinking that was the time frame of this assassination. And they still not caught the guy. I'm recording this, it is Friday. They have not caught the guy yet. They have really, from what we know, are not even closer to catching this dude, from what we know. There have been some reports where it seems like he traveled from Atlanta or from Georgia to New York City to do this. That's something that's been thrown around. I'm not too sure if that's been 100% confirmed by the investigation team. I'll look into that more, but yeah, so people are scared. By people, I mean more so insurance companies and leadership. And a lot of insurance companies, while there's pretty much like a task force whose, like, job it is to provide security to a lot of these kind of people, a lot of companies in healthcare, like a lot of insurance companies, especially healthcare companies, do not opt for all their people, like all the executives and stuff, to have, like, security with them. Because Mr. Thompson was walking around without security. He had no security. He was just by himself, which is why this happened, and the assailant was able to bike off afterwards. So there's a lot of reasons why they don't have security. Optics is always the biggest one. Also, some may think it's unnecessary. I don't know what's going to happen now. I really don't know. I don't know if now meetings are going to be only through, like, Zoom / some type of, like, web seminar situation where web chat, where it's like, or video chat, my bad, where they don't have to physically go into the, like, I really don't know when it comes to like the top, like the CEOs, the executives, when it comes to them meeting for be it investors or whatever, it may just be some conference calls type things, because this is dangerous, especially when you don't have security, and situations like this can happen. And here's the thing. Again, when you are responsible, or at least you have your hands on the pulse of society and people to this extent, where people can live and die by the choices that you make, or you're responsible in making, or you're a big part of that responsibility in the making of that, people are going to be upset and people are going to not like you. Some people are going to like you, some people are not going to like you. The people who do not like you, especially again when it comes to having your hand on the pulse of death for people, those people will have nothing to lose. They will not care. They have nothing to lose. And this is a very tragic situation, and it stems from the frustration of society, bro. I keep telling people, when you piss people off this much and you screw them over constantly and you value dollar bills over the lives of millions of people that you're responsible for, they're going to get pissed off, and you should not be surprised when acts of violence happen, when protesting fails. Because a lot of people are being like, just switch insurance. If you're stuck with a job that gives you this insurance, you don't have a choice except if you leave the job. For a lot of people, there's a lot of people who got screwed over. There's a lot of people I know and who have stated, right? I'm going to use a quote that I got from AP, right? I believe this is a comment from TikTok, or a TikToker saying this. And the quote directly says, I pay $1,300 a month for health insurance with a $8,000 deductible, right? $23,000 yearly. When I finally reached that deductible, they denied my claims, right? And during that, he was making $1 million a month, end quote. So when you have situations like that, and that's one person saying this, but that's many, that story could be from many people. That statement could be from many people, because there are many people who are not fortunate enough to be able to cover some of these things. There's people who have surgeries or have checkups or have all kinds of things done, and then months later get a bill for like a ridiculous amount of money they thought was covered. And it's not like some special treatment, or some, we're not talking about some BBLs or some kind of surgery or whatever, right? We're talking about physical exams, right? We're talking about cancer patients who need treatment for cancer, and chemotherapy and stuff for cancer, right? And they're having some, like, the insurance company is fighting the doctors on, well, is this drug really necessary, or is this specific treatment really necessary, or is this, and it's like, yes, bro, it is necessary. We wouldn't give someone chemotherapy unless it was necessary in order to make them better so they can live their lives. These are situations in which the insurance companies are fighting and making it really hard. A lot of people would die. If you are lucky enough to catch any type of cancer early, your survival rate is a lot better. At that point, once you're diagnosed, depending on what stage it is, it's a matter of clock, it's a matter of time. And when you have situations where your insurance company is fighting it, you're losing that precious time for your treatment. Some people get it resolved in a day, some people get it resolved in months, some people resolve in years, some people never get resolved and they die. And that's the situation. That's the frustration that people are dealing with. And it will mount over. I do believe this is going to be a huge domino that will fall. I'm hoping no more assassination attempts, but at least protesting, right? At least calling your local senators, calling people, let's get the ball rolling. And I really hope that the right thing comes out of this. I know it won't, but my hope is that from this unfortunate situation is that we start looking at the bigger picture. The right thing to take away from this whole situation would be, what caused this? Is it an act of violence that's very unfortunate and someone did die? But there's a reason behind this. Let's look at that reason. Let's understand the reasoning. And from that understanding, let's make sure something like this can never happen again. And I'm not saying just adding, obviously, like security and stuff to these people. I'm talking about the root of the issue, which is insurance companies being unchecked Big Pharma being unchecked and ruining and killing thousands to millions of people every single year because of constant greed and corruption that is run rampant in this country through these companies, through their pockets, getting bigger and bigger and using it to pay off and using it to pass drugs that shouldn't get passed. All these safety checks, it's all fucked. And we need to take the right lesson from this, man. It's so frustrating that people are taking the wrong. It's just it's fucking annoying. It's really annoying, and a lot, like I said, a lot of patients have died from their lack of health insurance coverage, right? A lack of people in the hospital beds dying, and because their insurance is fighting every single little thing, they can't operate on this person. Or these people do get operated, or some emergency does happen, and they're stuck with this bill that they just can never pay, and they're in this crippling debt. I really wish I brought the statistic, but there's a huge statistic. There's a huge number of people that the biggest crippling debt in America is health. It's this. It's constant fighting with the health insurance. There's people who have babies in hospitals stuck with these bills that are just insane, and they can never pay it off, especially when dealing with a newborn. And people wonder why people don't want to buy houses, why the people are the births on decline, population decrease, all these different things, is because no one can afford it. People are scared because the whole point is insurance is so you can feel insured, so you can have that safety net. The safety net is not a safety net if you're going to get strangled by it. What safety net strangles you and kills you? That's what's happening right now. Again, I'm not advocating for this violence. I'm not advocating for death. I'm just simply stating the facts of the matters that people are fucking sick and tired. People are sick and tired of every single day. It's a fight. Every single day it comes down to money. What is the point? And then people are saying, well, health insurance companies have a 1% to 3% margin. It doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't fucking matter. If anything, you're proving the case of why universal healthcare should really be looked at, because it's getting to a boiling point, man. It's getting to the boiling point. This man got assassinated, and I'm being very serious that I don't know what is going to happen next with this situation. I don't know if more people are going to rise up and be like, oh, because there has been a response by these health insurance companies taking down their leadership, taking down their About Us pages, right? And doing all these different things. There has been a response, even Blue Cross Blue Shield, right? Who was going to stop covering or insuring anesthesia. I know I just butchered that. After a certain amount of time through surgery, and you have to pick. Imagine you going for surgery, it takes a little longer. And then afterwards, while you're fucking like in the recovery unit, off some of the zippy, right? You're trying to recover. They hit you with a 50% bill. Like, yeah, you had to cover your insurance cover the first hour or two of this surgery. You have to cover the next 2 hours. Nigga missed me with that bullshit, man. Missed me with that bullshit. So they redacted that because apparently the New York City governor or New York governor fought back and pretty much forced them to like, hey, you're not doing this in my state. Like this is some fuck shit. But either way, I mean, that's the kind of greed I'm talking about, man. That's the kind of greed I'm fucking talking. That's insanity. That's not normal. That's not safe. That's very dangerous. If you allow something like that to happen, man, where you can't even cover like anesthesia, bro, there's gonna be so many back door operations. There's gonna be people rushing surgeries. There's gonna be people trying to do all these things in order to prevent this. It's so asinine and dangerous, and that's why situations like this happen, because people are fucking frustrated and scared, and I don't blame them. I don't blame people for being frustrated and scared. I don't blame people for wanting to burn down the village to feel its warmth. I don't blame them, because when you do shit like this, it's tragic. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking, oh well, I've gone screwed over by health insurance, but You don't understand that however shitty your situation is, there's someone and way more people that have even worse situations where they can't even afford health care or they can't get a job that gets them coverage. And so they're on some bullshit, right? I'm telling you, it's not just about you, it's the bigger, you have to look outside yourself in situations like this and understand not everyone is you or your family, bro. There's so many people suffering every fucking day to these people. Every day. And it's an issue. It's a problem. People are you don't understand, man. You just don't. Even if you think you do, you don't. And I really suggest that that's your attitude. Like, you really go out, actually outside, and talk to motherfuckers who have to deal with this. Go to some of you go to these ERs, you go to these urgent cares, you see the line out the door. You see so many people who go to like pharmacy, your local pharmacy, and be cussing out their insurance agents because for whatever reason not covering this medication that you need to survive tomorrow. That's the situation I'm talking about. That's the fucked up thing I'm talking about. That we have to understand the bigger picture. And the lesson we should take from this situation, this assassination, this successful assassination attempt, is not that we should be assassinating everybody. It's not that we should just get more security. It's not that we should up this. It's that we need to look at the humanity, like what we're doing to this society and how we can fix it. And that's by getting big pharma, these insurance companies, whether it's auto, whether it's house or real estate, whether it is healthcare, and be like, enough's enough, man. You're bleeding our people dry every day with no actual consequence. Because, and I hate to say this type of shit, at the end of the day, they're going to get someone else in this position to replace this man. And it will be the same bullshit again. We need to take the right lesson from this and figure it out. There's a lot of people hurting, a lot of people who are scared. And even the bullet casings, man, it said, I believe, 2 things were written on them. One of them said delay, and one of them said deny. And if you know health insurance, you know what delay and deny means, because that's all you hear. That's all you fucking hear with these people. And it's starting to catch up with them. It is. Let's move on to South Korea. South Korea, out of nowhere, no one's really expecting this, but what happened with South Korea basically, and I want to condense this, I already spent so much time on the health insurance issue, but I want to make sure I get to this point of it, and I'm still trying to really research and understand the nuances that's going on in South Korea right now. But basically, the president of South Korea called for a martial law, and that was insane. Took everyone by surprise. The international community was basically half of them was asleep when this happened, and people were panicking, like, didn't know what the fuck was going on. And basically, a lot led into this. It wasn't just something like, it happened out of nowhere, but like, the act of martial law happened out of nowhere, but not the act of people getting pissed off that led to him calling martial law. That was a buildup. From what I understand, a couple of things factor into this. One of them being that the president has just not really popular with his people. Also, that his wife, I guess, accepted some expensive gift, like I think it was like a handbag or something. And I believe in their laws, especially for their politicians or maybe for the presidency or whatever, they're not allowed to the gift. Either they're not allowed to accept gifts at all, or there's like a certain money threshold, and that bag or whatever clearly passed that threshold. And people were like, "Yo, it's just adding fuel to the fire." Already someone with not a good look, and that's not popular, just made it more not popular. And his response for that handbag situation, or his wife, was really lackadaisical, was kind of bullshit, and people were pissed off because a lot of people are suffering. And I guess he also went to some market to do, the usual political stunts, like, oh, I'm part of the people. I know how much eggs and bread costs and milk costs. No, you don't. And as you didn't know before you're president because you've been rich for such a long time, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You're just a rich asshole, right? Is pretty much what his vibes gave off. So people were pissed about that and protesting with some green onions and shit. It was getting kind of crazy. And then just all that to top it off, basically, if you watch Squid Games, is kind of just a situation of food's getting expensive. Society, it's hard to express ourselves. There's all kinds of societal pressures, and the cost of living is getting higher and higher, and it's just getting unbearable for a lot of people, and it's starting to piss people off. So imagine you're in a society that's not doing well financially in terms of your people are suffering, the people are starving, food is really expensive, and then you're out here talking about, oh, this food's cheap, is only cost this much, or you see your wife getting handed like some expensive gift, which is illegal to do, and you see that, you're going to get pissed off. And then he panics, calls martial law. So basically, they called the police out. The people called up the police on his ass, and they're investigating him. And I would be surprised if he stays the president by the end of next week. I think they'll impeach him, or he's going to step down. The opposition is basically the president of Korea, South Korea, is isolated right now. It's not looking good. But yeah, the people pretty much called the popo on him. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm following that story, because that story, it was very interesting when it came out, and it really came out of nowhere for me, for someone who wasn't following what was happening over the years and over the time. Yeah, so that's very interesting. Lastly, let's talk about France real quick. Basically, France's economy is ass. For the route to get to the the Jimmy Johns of it is ass. The French National Assembly voted with 331 to oust the government, right? Which led to the prime minister resigning, which is a big deal. So the prime minister resigns, and if I'm not mistaken, how it works in France is the prime minister is in charge of domestic affairs, including the budget. The president handles international affairs and security, if I'm not mistaken. And so the prime minister resigned. And France's economy is being compared to Greece. If you know Greece and their GDP, you don't want to be compared to Greece. And at one point, for a small window, France's borrowing costs exceeded Greece's, which is insane. You don't understand. Because when you think of France, you don't think of for most people who don't really follow the news and all that stuff. When you're thinking of France, you're not thinking of someone who's a country who's struggling. You're not thinking that. So to have France's borrowing exceed Greece's is insane. I don't think people understand how crazy that is, right? So a standoff with the new budget basically began, and so they can't really get a new budget in place because there's no prime minister, right? And so the prime minister who resigned, he did force his way over the parliament, basically, and was like, hey, I have an idea, I'm doing it, fuck the rest of y'all, I don't care what y'all say. That obviously pissed everybody off that didn't agree with him, which 331, which had the majority, which caused this government to basically implode, right? So the prime minister stepped down, just the president now of France, and he can't call another election until next July, because he just called one in July, and it's illegal to do another one so close, so he has to wait till next year, which is a very long time for your country to basically have their government not exist with a non-confidence, That's a very long time. So there's no real way to get a new budget. He kind of shot himself in the foot. There's no real new way to get a budget in place right now. So I think they can roll over 2024's budget into 2025, but obviously if something that's not working now is definitely not going to work again. So there's an issue right there. And the president is very he's not resigning. He basically was like, yo, fuck what y'all talking about. I'm not about to resign. So it's a big situation. It's scary for the people of France, I'm sure. Especially when you don't have confidence in your government, and your government has basically fucked you over for years now, and not really finding ways to get better, and your government basically is non-existent. And so the president has to assign a new prime minister, and the next prime minister has to basically be majority approved by the parliament, or else they'll just vote non-confidence again, and the whole thing will start over again. So I guess the closest way from an American standpoint to look at this is kind of like when our government shuts down, when a new budget can't be agreed upon and stuff, and we're basically sitting here we can't get laws passed, we can't get it's just a fucking mess. That's basically what happened here. Except with France's situation, is pretty much we need a whole new government in place. Not just, hey, let's Democrats, Republicans, let's agree. No. We need a whole new government in place. Get a whole new prime minister. Get a whole new government in place. That's insane. So we'll see what happens, but it is not looking good for France. It's not looking good. You don't want to be compared to Greece, man. And lastly, I was going to skip over this until the next episode, but I just might as well just get it done. Let's talk about Canada. Basically, Trump came out and was like, I said a lot of shit like he usually does, but one of the things that, like, one of the highlight trigger words that kind of came, or statements that came out of this was Canada should become the 51st state of America. Let's not even pay attention to that. That's not fucking happening, right? That's just, that's not fucking happening. But, something that is important is the border situation with Canada, the United States and Canada, right? Because for those that don't know geography, it's the United States of America, Canada on the top, Mexico on the bottom. And so America has notoriously had tensions with Mexico and the border. Canada and its border has become an issue now too, with more and more people crossing it illegally, and some of those people being terrorists of interest. Some of those people smuggling drugs and people. It's a whole situation that's been going on. And if you've never traveled to Canada, Canada is not known for the most strict border policy, or at least getting into the country. You can get into the country. I'm talking about legal ways, of course, like through boat, airplane, driving. It's not the most. It's pretty lax compared. I've been to some countries where it is difficult. America being one of them, but like I've been to countries where they press you, bro. I've been to England, bro. They press you. I've been to France. Like places will press the fuck out of you to get into their country, bro. Like it ain't no. Canada was kind of like Canada. When I went to Canada, bro, I felt like I was a citizen. That's how it was super quick and easy, bro. I felt like I was a citizen, bro. I was just like boop boop in and out. I've been to Canada two times now. I've been to Canada twice, driven once, and then flew the other time. So I've been to Canada twice in my life. So yeah, and then I've been to Mexico once. No, yeah, I've been to Mexico once, been to Canada twice. And so yeah, it's a huge problem with their border right now, and tensions with that. So they're kind of just like, yo, you need to kind of tighten up your border policy. There's a lot of stuff that y'all are really laxed about. It's not really looking in our favor. And Trump income administration wants to hit that 25%, hit Canada and Mexico with the 25% in tariffs, which, yeah, that's going to be a ride for people. That's going to be a ride. And so Trudeau is basically like, yo, we need to fight the Trump administration. We can't let this fucking slide. We can't give into what the Americans are doing right now. They're on some bullshit right now, basically. And as much as I don't like Donald Trump, and I don't believe in these tariffs and shit he's trying to do, there is a problem when you look at the statistics with the border when it comes to the Canadian and American border, that Canada does need to figure the fuck out. There is some issue that they need to figure the fuck out. But that's kind of like where I begin to end with that agreement, is that they need to figure that shit out. But outside of that, I mean, there's footage out there. We can see footage on cameras that farmers could like farm. Like the Canadian border, you can literally just walk. Like there's a lot of spots in the Canadian American border we can just straight up walk through. And like it's all some grass shit. So like there's cameras where like farmers have on their land and stuff where you can just see people with suitcases walk in and out. It is fucking insane. So obviously not all these people who are coming into America illegally through the Canadian American border are terrorists or drug smugglers or whatever. That's like, I'm not one of them people. But there is people, and there's been confirmed cases of them getting caught and looking at it. And you can only count people that you catch. You can't count people that you don't catch. So the number doesn't reflect the total number of people who come and cross illegally. So there's a very interesting situation that's very delicate, and that should be handled with delicacy. But outside of that, the whole thing about Canada becoming the 51st state is very laughable. I mean, to say you're going to basically disassemble a whole nation and absorb it into yours like it's fucking 1805 is fucking crazy. I think these 25% tariffs are scaring a lot of people, who is going to be primarily affecting. And I don't think people understand tariffs enough, or like, you know, what it does and what it will do to everybody involved. But yeah, Canada has their own issues right now when it comes to immigration policies and a lot of different stuff. That's really on them to figure. Like it's separate from this particular topic, but just like Canada is not a perfect country. They have their own situations. They have their own frustrations. I mean, the Canadian dollar, bro, is not. I mean, I don't know what it is this second. I remember, I think it was 2 years ago when I was going for like some convention. It was like a $20 difference in my favor in the price. Like I paid $20 less than like than their own people. Like I went to Canada for this convention. It was cheaper for me to go to this convention in Canada than it was cheaper for the Canadians who were already there to pay for that convention. And so it's not looking too good. There's a lot of issues going on right there. And the price for goods is so crazy from what I understand. I need to go talk to my Canadian friends more. But yeah, it's looking kind of crazy. So that being said, that's the end of the episode. I know this was very, very lengthy, but I appreciate it if you stayed to this point. Let me know what you think on all of it. Let me know what you think on the TikTok ban. Let me know what you think on the FTC looking into DraftKings and FanDuel and how they promote gambling. Let me know what you think about the United Healthcare situation, health insurance in general. Let me know what you think about South Korea, France, Canada. There's so much going on that we really need to band together more than ever before, protect your mental health, love your loved ones, have conversations, the hard conversations, have them. Because one thing, I should have said this before logging off, but one thing I will say, when it comes to health insurance or this United Healthcare situation, it is a conversation that needs to be had, but not everyone's ready to have it. And I don't mean that as a joke or a meme. I mean that in a very serious fucking way. Because if you're not ready to have the conversation, right? If you're going to just be like on a high ground, and say that poor people are savages or whatever the case may be, or if you're going to be like defend the rich people, it's not about those sides. It's about having a serious discussion over the literal stuff that's happening. They're using AI to determine, like a lot of companies are using, insurance companies are using AI to determine what you should get, determine if you should be covered, determine if you should live or die. When you're on that debt, when you or your loved one is sitting in the fucking hospital room and you need this certain medicine or you need certain combination medicines, your insurance company is probably using AI to determine whether or not you should get it. More times than not, the AI is gonna say you shouldn't get it based off whatever history or whatever keywords they're sparking in your file. And then because you need it, because you're going to die without it, they're going to the doctor, whoever's going to nurse is going to have to call the insurance company and be like, what the fuck? We need this drug right the fuck now. He's going to die in a day or a week if we don't do this, or in the next couple years. And insurance companies going to be fighting it because they don't want to spend the money to do it because it's a more expensive option. That's what we were defending, by the way. I want to make that very crystal clear. I'm not saying the Assassination Temple's right. I'm saying that there is a very big issue that's been going on for decades in this country when it comes to these insurance companies. And now, whether we like it or not, people are paying attention. So let's do the right thing here. Have honest conversations about what's going on and ways we can make it better. Because if not, more things like this is going to happen. And not just with insurance companies. There's many predatory CEOs and companies out there like Ticketmaster and so many who just bleed people dry for no reason at all. And I'm not wishing anything on nobody. I'm just saying that protests, I'm talking about protests, I'm talking about all these different things that can forms of protests that can happen, whether it's not spending money, like whether it's like, okay, I'm going to use this insurance or I'm going to use this ticketing service instead of this service so that, whatever the case may be that people need to do, is going to come down. And that usually doesn't work. It's been happening. It's not like people haven't done it before. So when people have a boiling point, and the boiling point is clearly here, and a lot of CEOs, a lot of companies are very, very scared. And we're in a level of uncertainty right now with a lot of this. So as these cases evolve, when big updates happen, I can do another podcast or follow up to this. But for right now, this is just the bare bones of what I've seen going on, bare bones of what I've researched. I'm also going to try to keep myself more educated and try to keep following up the cases and the situations around the world and some of the international relations. All right, peace.